So what happens when police, in their mission to catch the bad guys, end up breaking the very law they're supposed to uphold? We're going to get into a huge Canadian Supreme Court case today, R.V. Campbell, that puts that exact question on trial. It's this incredible story about a high-stakes drug bust, a secret legal memo, and a question that really gets to the heart of our justice system: is anyone, even the police, actually above the law?
At the center of all this is a police tactic called a reverse sting operation. Now, you've probably seen a normal sting in a movie, right? Cops go undercover to buy drugs and bust some street-level dealers. A reverse sting completely flips that. This time, the police become the sellers.
Just think of it like this. A normal sting, well, that targets the small fish. A reverse sting is designed to lure in the big sharks. You know, the financiers, the executives of these major drug organizations. The ones who are usually totally safe from any street-level busts. It's a really powerful tool, for sure. But as we're about to find out, it's also legally explosive.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's 1991, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, they decide they're going to go big. They launch this super ambitious reverse sting. They've got undercover officers pretending to be these massive hashish suppliers, and their goal is to take down a major drug trafficking ring right from the top. And when I say big, I mean big. The undercover cops offered to sell 50 kilograms of hashish. The buyers, two guys named Campbell and Shiros, they agreed to pay $270,000 for it. You know, a deal that on the street would be worth close to $1 million. This was exactly the kind of high-level bust the police were dreaming of.
And you know what? From a police perspective, the operation was a total home run. The money changed hands, the trap was sprung, and the top guys in the organization, Campbell and Shiros, were arrested. Case closed, right? Bad guys are caught, everybody goes home. Well, not so fast.
See, this is where the whole story takes a very sharp turn. The traffickers were in custody, sure, but their lawyers were about to argue that the real lawbreakers in this whole deal were actually the police themselves. And that was the bombshell question the defense lawyers just dropped in court. They argued that in the process of catching the criminals, the RCMP had actually committed a crime, and they had a very, very specific law in mind.
The defense's whole argument came down to the super precise wording of the law, Canada's Narcotic Control Act. Under that law, trafficking didn't just mean selling drugs. It was also illegal to offer to do it. So by pretending to be sellers and offering 50 kilos of hash, the RCMP had, on the face of it, committed the exact same crime they were trying to stop.
And this wasn't just some little technicality. The defense went for something called an abuse of process. This is a rare but really powerful legal move. It basically says the government's own actions were so improper, so wrong, that it shocks the conscience of the community. And if a judge agrees, the whole case gets thrown out. Doesn't matter how guilty the accused might be.
Now, the police, of course, had a defense for all this. They didn't just wake up one day and decide to break the law. They said they did their homework, which introduced this whole new layer of mystery into the case.
On the witness stand, the lead RCMP officer, Corporal Reynolds, he testified that before they even launched the reverse sting, he had talked to a senior lawyer at the Department of Justice, the government's own legal team. So the police were arguing they were acting in good faith because they believed the whole operation was legal based on this advice.
Right. So this immediately becomes the million-dollar question for the whole trial. If the cops are basing their entire defense on this legal advice, what did it actually say? Did the government lawyers give them the green light? Or did they maybe warn them that they were walking on some pretty thin ice? And the answer from the Crown prosecutors was just stunning. They refused to say. They argued the content of that legal advice was protected and they could not reveal it in court. What they used was one of the most sacred principles in our entire legal system: solicitor-client privilege. This is the rule that makes sure that any communications between a lawyer and their client stay completely confidential. It's a cornerstone of our justice system, and now the police were trying to use it as a shield. So, with the case at a complete standstill, you've got a clear crime on one side and a secret justification on the other, it was pretty much inevitable that this was going to end up before the highest court in the country. The Supreme Court of Canada was now tasked with untangling this incredible legal mess.
The justices had to cut through all the noise and focus on two fundamental issues that would end up defining the limits of police power in Canada.
First, did the RCMP actually break the law when they offered to sell the hashish? Pretty simple. And second, could the police really claim they acted in good faith based on legal advice and then use privilege to keep that exact same advice a secret? And the Supreme Court's ruling? Oh, it was decisive. First step, they found that yes, the police conduct was illegal. The court said their actions were facially prohibited by the plain and simple wording of the law. Second step, the court ruled that by putting their good faith on the table as a defense, the RCMP had automatically waived their right to privilege. They gave it up. And step 3, the court sent the case back down to the trial judge to look at the abuse of process claim again, but this time with that crucial legal advice finally out in the open.
The Supreme Court's logic here was just simple common sense. You can't have it both ways. You can't use the existence of legal advice as a shield while at the same time using privilege to hide the content of that advice. It's like saying, my secret alibi proves I'm innocent, but sorry, I can't tell you what it is. It just doesn't work that way.
But this ruling was about so much more than just one drug bust. It was about reinforcing one of the most important pillars of a democratic society.
In its decision, the Supreme Court actually quoted this famous passage from a legal scholar, A.V. Dicey, and it explains this bedrock principle of the rule of law. It means there is one law for everyone, from the most powerful government official to the average citizen, and yes, even to the police officer on the beat.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. The fight against crime is absolutely essential, but you can't win it by sacrificing the rule of law. The Supreme Court sent this unmistakable message. The methods police use matter, and no one gets a free pass to break the law, even if they're doing it in the name of enforcing it.
The case of R.V. Campbell really forces us all to wrestle with this incredibly difficult question that we're still grappling with today. To win the war on crime, how far can we as a society allow law enforcement to go? It's a question with absolutely no easy answers, but one that this fascinating case really forces us all to think about.